What's up, everybody? It's 9 o'clock. Do you know where your fish heads are? Give everybody a few minutes. This is unexpected, so how you doing, Bob? I knew you'd be the first one on. Going on, buddy? Don Birdie, I'm in a pickle. Yeah, Don, I got ice packs on my foot and maybe in my knee. uh,
Yeah, I gotta go to the chiropractor.
Rumble, say Merlin, how you doing, buddy? Michael Hoover, how are you? Don Terry, Dave Jordan, how you doing, buddy? Tammy Hoover, hello, hello. Bill Gilbert, how you doing? Tim Cook, what's going on? So I called this live meeting of the extended family because I didn't fish today. I tried to fish today. I wanted to fish today. So I left my dock this morning at 5 a.m., normal time. And I got, I don't know, down to the bend or so, maybe half a mile. And I realized I forgot my camera bag, which I've never done that before, honestly. I don't think. So I turned around and I came back. And then I remembered that yesterday on the way in from fishing, my low oil alarm was going off. And I needed my motor is a 2-stroke and it's oil injection, so I needed to fill up the oil. I thought I had a couple gallons in the garage. So I went out in the garage to get it and it wasn't there. Now, there's a possibility that it's someplace that I didn't see it, but I looked pretty good. And so then I was like, well, I'm kind of stuck. So honestly, I laid back down on the couch and fell asleep for an hour and got up and made myself breakfast and went to work. So I guess it worked out okay. But I miss any morning that I'm not out there, quite honestly. So then we were going to go this evening. I went and got oil this morning after Bruton Boatyard opened up. I went down, I got some oil. I'm ready to go for the morning. We were going to go out this evening, but my friends John Burrows and Don Birdie said, hey, let's go play pickleball. And I don't know if anybody out there has played pickleball, and this is not fishing related, but we started playing with John Burrows and his wife Linda last year a couple times, and it was a lot of fun. Corey and I, it was the first time we'd ever tried it. Corey and I played tennis a little bit, but this year, in the last couple of weeks, I think we've played 4 or 5 times, and it's a lot of fun. And it nothing else, if nothing else, it gets you moving. You know, I'm in a ringing sweat every time I get done playing. It feels good. I'm active. I'm doing something athletic. I like the competition. It's fun. You know, it's fast. It's a fast game, and it's a pretty easy game. Once there's only a few rules, so it's something I've really enjoyed. We play at the Claytown Park down on Stearns Road in Cicero off of 31. They're putting a new court or a couple courts, I guess John said, up at the park up in Hastings, and they're popping up all over. It's becoming very popular, and it's fun. You know, it really is fun. So I've enjoyed it thoroughly, and like I say, it keeps me moving and grooving. Now, there's a few of my joints that say after I'm done, "Hey, dummy, maybe you're want to take it a little easier." But I don't listen to that number or that voice and that number that it talks about in my age. You know, I still feel 25, so I'm going to keep going with it. And like I say, it's just fun, and we played. Anytime you go over the court, you play for at least 2 hours. Tonight we played 2.5 hours. Last Wednesday night we played for 3 hours. You don't even realize it, and as soon as the game ends, you're like, oh, come on, let's do it again. You switch partners up, and you just keep playing. You just keep right on playing, and every game is different, and it's been very enjoyable. So I know Don or John has posted a couple times on his Facebook. If anybody wants to go or try it, or they want to break into it, we have paddles. I think we have got enough for 3 or 4 extra paddles if people ever wanted to go and join us. I'm more than welcome. I'm not sure how to say that. You're more than welcome to join us. How about that? So let's see who else has joined us. Eric Wisniewski, what's up, Wiz? My darling wife has joined us over off the couch. Ed Roser, good to see you live again. Thank you. We'll mix this in. I'm not going back to a live every day, but we will definitely mix this in. I miss this interaction too, and seeing everybody. Tim Cook, I know you did, and I already used it. John said the same thing to me. He goes, I got you a gallon of that oil. He goes, how much of that do you go through? Well, I'm going to tell you. So now that the boat's running and it's running great, like I'm out every single day, and every day for me to get from my house to the islands, just to the islands, if I was going to fish the 133 drift, that's 4.5 miles one way. If I run out past that, you start clocking. And so there are some days where I'll run 10, 12 miles total. And that's not all that far. But I mean, I go through 50 gallons of fuel a week. Easy. My tank is 50 gallons, and I'll do 100 at a time, which is about 25 gallons twice a week, and so that burns through that oil, because the last time I filled it, and I don't check it every day, and I should, because it lets it get down to, what tells me it's time to put oil in it is when the buzzer goes off. That's not the right way to do it, but so I'll put 1 gallon in, I'll keep 1 gallon in, and then we're fine. But yes, thank you, Tim. And I wish you had 5 more gallons laying around, because the price of it has went through the roof as well. So let's see who else is here. Tim Graver. How you doing, Farmer Tim? Hook and Eyes. How's the summer going? Going great. Courtney and I went and saw Shania Twain at the amphitheater. That was amazing. We're going to go see Dark Star Orchestra a week from tomorrow, down in Lafayette at Wonderland Forest. They're reenacting Dark Star, and I don't know the two bands. They're reenacting the concert from Watkins Glen, 72, 73. That was the Grateful Dead, the Allman Brothers, and the band. So there are 2 other cover bands playing the role of the band and the Allman Brothers, but I'm only going to go. I mean, I'm going to mainly see Dark Star. I've seen them 20 sometimes now already. Every summer I see them once or twice. They're a Grateful Dead cover band. For those of you that don't know, they're the preeminent touring cover band for the Dead nationally. They really are incredible musicians, and they do a full. They reenact every one of their shows is a full, in its entirety, reenactment of an existing show that the Dead did. And at some point during the show, they'll tell you, people will keep track and start matching set lists to see if they can figure out what show it is they're playing. And at some point in the evening, they'll tell you what show they're playing. But they're incredible musicians, and it's the music I love. And there's, if you were never able to go to a Grateful Dead show, or if you've never been in like that, there is nothing better than a summer evening dancing under the stars, listening to the Dead. Nothing in this world comes close. It is the most joyous, happy, dancing music you've ever wanted to listen to. And when it's a beautiful summer night and you're outside and the music and everything. It's incredible. And I'm really looking forward to going down because Dark Star puts on an incredible show, and the quality of the and the level of the musicianship that they have is unrivaled. So yeah, summer has been great. We at some point we're going to get up to the St. Lawrence here, hopefully sooner than later, and start getting some fishing in up there on the weekends. So a lot of stuff going on. Let's see. There's a new name, Gino Bilawa. How, phonetically, how do you pronounce that? Hook and Eye. Summer Bite is definitely started up. We picked up 35 keepers in 2 hours, all over 17 on Tuesday. Wednesday, same spot, picked up 40 plus, but all under 17. And then Don Terry says trolling? Question mark. Dennis is trolling with worm harnesses. So, Jed Paulson, how you doing, buddy? The Mosquito. Got to see the Dead and Company at a bunch of venues this year. So much fun. Never got to see Dark Star Orchestra, but you're making me a believer. Got to go this summer. Hey, do yourself a favor. I saw Dead and Company a couple years ago. Well, quite a few years ago now. I took my daughter for her 18th birthday, and she's, God's sakes, 25 now. So it's been a while. They were new, and I'm not a huge fan of John Mayer. Plays a hell of a guitar, and he's really done a very good job playing Jerry's lead parts of lead guitar. I'm not crazy about his voice. That's just me. I've seen him, but I like Bob Weir and Wolf Brothers. We've seen them a couple times, and Dark Star's great. They're all good. I've never seen Joe Russo. I've heard great things about him. I don't want to talk about the Dead all night, but I could. I love that music. Absolutely love it. You're right, Merlin. You're absolutely right.
The only thing he forgot was tie-dye.
Tie-dye, yeah. Ed Roser. Every time I hear Bertha, I dance like an idiot. Still the best. Bertha, don't you come around here anymore. See, you're getting me all riled up. I could go now and sit in the parking lot from now until next Friday. Keith Horns, what's up, my brother? So you guys know Keith. He's been up with me. He was at Walleye Fest. We went striper fishing this spring. We're going the end of the month. Courtney and I are going down to see her family in New Jersey. Her niece has got her Sweet 16 birthday party. But Keith and I are hooking up one morning, and we're going out on a party boat, fluke fishing, probably. And that's going to be pretty cool. I've never done that. I've never been on a party boat. I'm really looking forward to it. And this is a guy, Keith has been with this Captain Ron. I think he said over 20 years now he's been going with him and fishes with him throughout the summer, throughout the season. So I'm really excited. I've been here, Keith and I've been friends for Christ's sakes. 30 years. I just wolfed down Chinese food before we got home, so before we got online. I'll stop talking for a minute. What's going on, everybody? Tell me. Let's talk fishing if you want. Let's talk about anything, man. Let's. Anybody got any questions? Chief Stone. It's been a while. You're right. How you doing, buddy? Eric. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, we got 32 people out here. Fire away. Let's talk a little bit. Fishing's been good. The trollers, I'm going to tell you, like Dennis said, and a couple guys, and my friend Jason, who's guiding over out of Constantia, and Nick Sokolowski, and they've been tuning those fish, pulling harnesses, which it's that time of year. You should be. Um, Now I found fish that elite jigs, and I think there's always fish at elite jigs. If you're not a troller, don't worry. You might not go out and catch 60 in a day that these guys covering water and pulling six harnesses through the water. They can bail a lot of fish in a hurry. Um, but don't despair. If you want to go out and jig them, you could start. I rigged up a rod the other day. I haven't even used it yet. I rigged up a slip bobber rod the other day. So whether you're going to slip bobber live bait down there over the top of them, or whether you're going to put a plastic or float a piece of hair down there like a hair jig or something, there's a lot of things you can do, shallow or deep, with a slip bobber. If you have the ability with a bow mount trolling motor to go in along the weed lines and the weed edge and start picking out the holes in the weeds, you can drop that slip bobber right in there, let it come down through, work it around a little bit. Most people bobber fish with a leech or a worm or night crawler, but you can wacky rig a Senko, or any of those kind of lures or baits and get bit. You can do it with a marabou jig. You can do it with a bucktail jig. Marabou's got a little more undulation to it, especially if it's a little bit windy out and that bobber's naturally going to go up and down and it's going to move that a little bit in front of their face, because all of a sudden they're sitting here and that bobber's doing one of these, so it's automatically jigging it. So there's a lot of ways that you can go out and catch fish. Now you have to temper your expectations as to what you think is going to happen. If you go out and again, if you're watching social media and you're seeing some of these guides that are holding up big limits of fish every day and they're killing them, and you say, okay, I'm going to go out and jig. You got to know what's going on too, because if you set your expectations completely out of whack, then you're going to set yourself up for disappointment, which will ruin it for you. Jelly roll on August 31. Anyone going? Where? I might. How much is a dozen pierogies? Bill Morey, what's going on, buddy? Bill, I saw that picture you put up of yourself in high school the other day. That made me laugh. God, you were so young. To look back when we're that age now is funny. Ed Roser, what's the best speed for drifting harnesses? So whether you're drifting them or pulling them, it's right around one. One has always been the magic number. Now that depends somewhat on what blade you're fishing. Um, the bigger, the heavier the blade. Sometimes you have to pull it a little bit faster to get it to roll the way you want it to. But it's usually plus or minus 1 mile an hour even. So whether you're drifting, whether you're using your trolling motor, whether you're going against the wind and with a big motor or a gas trolling motor, within a couple tenths of 1 mile an hour is where you want to be. Yeah, those days are long ago. I hear you. Jeff Johnson. Well, you missed the story early, Jeff, but I didn't fish today. There was a comedy of errors that all contributed to me not getting out. I was up, I was in the boat, I was out, but I didn't fish. I ended up coming back to the dock, and then that was it. Steve Roberts. I feel better when you don't catch fish because I often don't hit them. So Steve, I talked to Paul Messina today from Apisa Regional, and he was on with Tom this morning. He said you weren't in the studio, and he said Tom was very sad that you weren't there. You guys are great. So yeah, so harnesses now, and two, you can get in the weeds and you can cast those. I see a lot of people are trolling those hammer harnesses, and they work obviously. Um, Brian designed that particular harness to be casted. That's why it's shorter. Um, Tim Cook, this is a great question. Tim Cook, do you use a bottom bouncer when drifting with harnesses or just a sinker or something? So here again, okay, there's a number of ways you can skin this cat. Um, you could run them off a dipsy diver. You could run them off a bottom bouncer. You can run them off an inline weight. You could run them with a snap weight. Um, there really is a myriad of ways that you can do it. I typically run bottom bouncers. But that all okay. Let me go back just a touch. So Tim, if you were in a spot and you're looking on your graph and you're seeing that bait line at that 12 to 15 foot of water, and you're seeing those big heavy marks, which let's just assume at that point are walleyes, and you want to get something to them, and you're going to troll harnesses and get them to them, then you're going to put some sort of a snap weight on or an inline weight and you're going to have to gauge. You're going to try and get it down into the zone right there. Because a bottom bouncer is just that. It is a bottom bouncer. So it's going to get boom down to the bottom. Here's the stick of the bottom bouncer. Here would be your weight coming off. Now, 2 years ago, I started using those Northland stick bouncers. It's a straight stick like this. They're in the boat. I don't have them in here to show you. My standard rule of thumb that I was always taught was anything under 20 foot of water, you use 20 foot or less is 2-ounce bottom bouncer. 20 foot or more is 3 to 4 ounces. I gotta think about that. I would typically, because I want it, because it depends on, there's a lot to it. A lot of it's feel, and a lot of it is starting to catch a few fish too, and have some confidence in what you're doing, and then start messing around with stuff. I like my line to be fairly 45, to 60 degrees. I don't want it straight up and down, and I don't want it way out like this. I want it in the middle. So whether I'm holding it if I'm drifting, or whether I have it in a rod holder and you have multiple rods out, I want to watch my angle, just like the old days. I used to watch my downrigger angles because you could read your current that way. Our lake has current as well, but I also want to get it down into that zone. And I want to have as little bit. I don't want to have too much line out, and I don't want to have too little out. I want it to get just behind the boat, especially if I'm drifting. I don't worry about motor noise or anything like that. And quite honestly, even if I was trolling with the big motor, I wouldn't really worry too much about motor noise. I don't think it bothers them much at all. So Don Terry says, depending on wind speed, I use 2 good size split shot up to 25 feet. Over that, I use a bouncer. Rumble seat 3-way swivel allows you to run whatever depth you want. You can certainly do that. I played around with trolling them off my downriggers too. Works well when the fish are a bit up off the bottom, and then you have control of where you're going to do it. Danny Diamond, on my way off the lake now with a limit. Right on, brother. Let's see. Dennis says I use 2 ounce for up to 25 and prefer 3 ounce for 25 plus. Yep, that seems right in line. The next day that I have a decent wind drift, I'll drift them. I'll drift them and do that for a morning. Is there an ideal distance behind the boat harnesses should be put out? No, and again, you don't want them too far back. And in the summertime when there's a lot of floating weeds, although it's not nearly as bad now as it was a month ago, I don't want them way out. It's not like trolling stick baits. Harnesses, because of how you can control the depth, are usually pretty tight to the boat. Um, and if you're wind drifting, that doesn't matter at all. And remember, listen, when we're jigging, how many do you catch when you're straight up and down? You cast it way out and you jig it back to the boat, and they bite it when they're right straight up and down. So it doesn't bother them. I really don't think it bothers them. Maybe if you were in 5 foot of water, you don't want to be right over the top of them and have your presentation right there. But anything over 15 feet, 15, 18 feet, I don't think it bothers them. Probably anything over 10 feet, but I don't think it bothers them one bit. So I would be more concerned, Ed, with making sure that I have my baits where my fish are. So if I'm watching my depth finder and everything I'm seeing, like if I'm jigging, I have one screen looking at the whole water column from top to bottom. And then I have another screen that's just looking at the bottom 5 feet. I'm zoomed right in because as a jigger, I only care what's down in the bottom 5 feet of the water column. Nothing else above that matters because they're not coming down for that jig. So I'm only going to get what's down there. Now, if I'm seeing that and that's where all the fish in the area that I'm seeing, and I want to put a harness down there to them, then I got to get it down to the bottom. Now, fish will rise. They will come up for a lure, no question. You can catch a smallmouth bass on a top water in 50 foot of water. And theoretically, he could be down on the bottom. He looks up. They can see it. They can hear it. They can feel it. It's not that they wouldn't know it's above them, but you want to put it down where they are, relatively close. You might be a foot or two off bottom. Now, if you're running that stick, I've seen guys put floats, put little pill floats in their worm harnesses to keep them up. So they're up off the bottom a little bit more when they got the harness, when they have the bottom bouncer on. So instead of like this, it would be like this. I think you got to put it across their face and they're going to eat it. It's got to be where they are. Chris Bryan, what's up, my brother? Got some. Chris says got a pretty good light show here in Rochester. Probably headed you guys' way shortly. So we got some. Some weather coming. I hope it moves through by the morning. E-Trix, how you doing, Eric, my friend? I'm glad to see you're back up and going and healed up. We're at 9:30, everybody. Good info. I'll be implementing some of the texts. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Marilyn. It's 9:30. I was going to stay on for half an hour. I know it's getting late. Any other questions? We'll talk about them real quick. That was a great little conversation about pulling worm harnesses. So Chris Bryan says, yes, I love to run the bottom bouncer with the slow death and the floating pill. It keeps it a little out of the weeds. So I've got a bunch of those spin drift or slow death hooks, and that's that bent shank hook like this that keeps your worm going. Now, some people will put that behind a spinner. Some people will fish that plain. I typically fish those plain and I have them pre-rigged in my harness box on from 36 to 60-inch leads so I can get it back away from my whatever weight I'm using. Typically a bottom bouncer, but whatever weight I'm using. My theory on that is when that worm on that hook is out there alone and it's doing that, that's as finesse as you could get. And I want it to be a little farther back. I would typically have that 5 foot. I've went longer than that. I don't know if I've seen it makes a great difference, but I don't necessarily want whatever I'm using, especially behind a bottom bouncer, to be short. And to me, short would be 2 foot or less. So I don't really want it to be that tight. I'd like it to be back a little farther. If I'm running an inline weight, then it doesn't bother me. It could be 18 to 24 inches behind the weight, and that's fine. But with a bottom bouncer, I like to have it a little bit farther back. That's just the way I've always done it. I'm sure you could do it shorter, but if I'm running just a slow death hook, I run it by itself with no spinner blade on it, and I stretch it out and I let it just go through out there on its own, and you'd be surprised. That plain hook worm presentation can really be deadly at times, especially on weed edges. Thad Lance, how you doing? Tammy Hoover, floating pill is a styrofoam float. Okay, it's shaped like a pill. It looks like a big Tylenol pill with a hole through the middle of it, and it's meant to be threaded, have line threaded through it. And it's just that. It's a floating pill, and it just gives a little bit of buoyancy to your harness or to your rig. That's all. Is there a bait shop in Phoenix to get those bad boy blades? Yes, you go right to Bad Boy Blades to I-1, and Mike lives over on River Road. Get a hold of Mike Urema, I-1 Baits. You can i1baits.com, and he's in the shop most days. You got to call him though, or at least set it up to make sure you know he's there, and he has a shop right there. So he's on River Road, headed east out of Phoenix, just before Peter Scott Road. Rumble seat. Do you use half a worm when you do that? It all depends. If I'm running something with a single hook, I run half a worm. If I'm running something with a tandem hook, then I'm running a full crawler. And it's 50-50 on my rigs. My longer rigs that I bottom bounce with, I typically have 2 hooks on. And so I'll run a full crawler. Something like Brian's hammer rig, because I don't typically, like, I could run one of Brian's rigs behind for my setup. I could run one of his hammer rigs behind a bottom bouncer. I would just tie in a 3 or 4 foot leader. That's all. And I've done that. His has single hooks on it. So I'd run a half crawler. All right. I think that'll do it. Thank you, everybody. This was nice to see and hear everybody again, and we'll do it again. I promise. I promise. I think that's it. Dennis, thank you. Great talk. I'll be back out tomorrow morning. I'm going to do something a little different tomorrow and start working on a little bit different way I'm presenting the content on a daily basis. And I'm open to suggestions and comments when we start getting there. We're closing in on 3,000 subscribers. That's a big deal. We're over 2,800 now. We got a lot of great things on the horizon. Summer's only not even half over yet. So we got a lot of great fishing left. So thank you, everybody. Have a great evening, and I will see you all tomorrow. Keep your tip up.